Please tell me who the fuck we got in the building today, man.
You got Devin Hurst, owner of the Claremont Barber Club in Jackson, Michigan. What's up, though?
Well, man, we gonna jump straight right into it, man. Claremont, man, how did you even think about even owning your own business or even getting started owning your own business, man?
You know, to be real, I never really wanted to own a barbershop. Like that was never my plans. My plans was maybe to one day open up a school or something like that, but it was never to open a barbershop. But so basically, you know, I mean, as a lot of people know, Justin Corey was the one to originally open up the Claremont back in 2009, and then basically, you know, he had got to a point where he was done with the barbering thing or whatever, and you know, he was about to go travel or whatever, and it was a couple of other people working at the Claremont at the time, and basically nobody knew what they wanted to do. You know what I mean? Out of all the barbers, they didn't know what they wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to take over the shop or if I wanted to go work somewhere else or just completely move. You feel me? So you know, then because the opportunity was there for like a year before I even like jumped on it or whatever. I used to say like straight up like no, I was good on the whole business, but you know, one day with me and Jay being so cool, you know, I was able to talk to him about numbers, basically, you know, the numbers that I would make or whatever. And as I started understanding the numbers that I would make off of it, I was just like, man, I might as well, because that's an opportunity, you know what I mean? So I might as well take the opportunity. So probably around like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2016 or whatever, you know, at the beginning of 2016 is when I made the decision. And then May of 2016 is when I originally took over.
Now let's backtrack something, because when I first ran into you or first got to get to know you was playing football and you was drawing on every fucking folder, every piece of paper you could find, just drawing up a storm. So how did you even get into cutting hair?
So yeah, I was really deeply into sports, like definitely football or whatever, and you know, I always drawed, and it's crazy because basically how I got to cutting hair has to do with sports and drawing or whatever. So you know, as I was younger or whatever, I always was able to draw, and you know, I would draw stuff for my friends if they wanted to draw stuff like that. Then eventually, I would say probably when we got to Parkside, around that era, like, you know, 7th or 8th grade, I kept having people ask me, you know, if I could put a design in their head since I could draw. And I was just like, well, yeah, I should be able to put the design in the head, and it kind of just started off from there. You know, I would start off putting designs in people's heads. Then I would move on to lineups, and then after that I moved on to phase or whatever. And next thing I know, I was cutting hair for for a side job or whatever, basically.
And I'm about to say, when I started getting my hair cut by you, you was in the basement and you was telling me, yeah, I cut people hair and I'm going to school as well. And I'm like, dude, where is you finding the time to even getting heads in? Like, so what made you want to really sit down and take cutting hair even more serious?
All right, so, you know, like I said, as you know, as through the 7th and 8th grade and 9th grade or whatever, I kind of wasn't taking it like for real or whatever, but I don't know, just as the years went on, I kind of got more and more serious with it. You know, at first it started off with like just family or whatever. You know, I was lining them up. Sometimes I would do it for free and cut their hair or whatever. And it also started with $5 haircuts is what I originally started off with. And then I moved up, you know, to $7, $10 haircuts, stuff like that. And you know, eventually, as the years went on, I kept getting better at the cutting hair. And then I would say around 12th grade year, I was a senior, and I was told by my cousin to go holler at the owner or whatever up at the Claremont. You know, at the time I had only, like, really, I didn't even know nothing about the Claremont. I had been there maybe once or twice back when Johnny Blaze was cutting hair, and he used to cut me up there or whatever. But other than that, yeah, I didn't know Jay, I didn't know Frosty, I didn't really know nothing about the Claremont. So I went up there one day, hollered at Jay, and he was like, you know, what do you think about you working on weekends, Saturdays only or something like that? And I was like, yeah, like I do it. So 12th grade year, I was working for him on the weekends or whatever, on top of, I was playing sports and and I had a job at McDonald's too. So I would cut. So I would and balance in regular high school or whatever.
Right.
Yep. So it really wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't no time for nothing. So when I got out of high school, basically when I got out of high school, 12th grade year, you know, I was still cutting hair, but as to me, it was still kind of like a side job on the other hand, because I had the full-time job at McDonald's, but I was just cutting hair just on the side kind of or whatever, getting side money. And I graduated and I tried to go to try to get a regular, like a real regular job. Like I tried tack, but you know, that didn't work out or whatever. And I think that's what kind of got me to realize, like, man, maybe I should try the barber game and be for real about it. So at the time I was still working for Jay, and that was kind of the deal too. The deal was if I was to come work for him 12th grade year and work on Saturdays, that eventually I was supposed to go to school, the barber school. Mm-hmm. So you know, I was bullshitting around or whatever, trying to go work at tack, trying to get hired in or whatever, and I ended up quitting there for I don't remember what reason or whatever. So he told me, he was like, you know, maybe you should call up to the school, maybe you should check into the school or whatever. And I was just like, all right, forget it, you know. So I called up to the school. Next thing I know, like maybe a month, half later, I was at school going to barber school, but I was still doing the same thing because basically I was paying for everything on my own. Like the school, you know, I was paying out of pocket for that. I was paying for the gas, blah blah blah, eating, driving back and forth between Lansing every day and going up there. So for my money to aid that, I kind of used cutting hair still on the side or whatever, because I didn't have time to go back to McDonald's and work or whatever, because the way the barber school was set up, you basically you there all day. I was there from like 8:30 in the morning till like 5:30 at night. Yep. So a good thing was the Claremont, back then the Claremont closed at 7, so I could get, when I got out of school or whatever, through the weekdays, I'd hurry up and shoot back to Jackson, and I might get 1 or 2 cuts, you feel me? But I mean, sometimes there might have been nobody, but at the same time, yeah, I was still cutting hair in the basement or whatever, so that's what helped me pay to go through barber school or whatever.
Okay. Now, one thing you spoke on at the beginning, you said you wanted to start a barber school and stuff like that. So what do you still have ambitions on doing that, or?
Oh yeah, definitely. So my plans are to, well, the main reason why I want to do a barber school is because there's a lot of schools out here, like the school I went to. I'm not trying to throw shade at nobody or whatever, because all barbers are different. You know, all like there's cuts that I can do, another person can't do it, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So basically, the schools, though, they, from what I understand, the schools that's around in Michigan don't really teach you the basic fade or whatever. I mean, they teach you a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but like when I was going to barber school in Lansing, if say I walked in for a ball fade or whatever, the teachers that was up there, they didn't know they wouldn't know how to do one the correct way. I mean, the correct way or whatever. So that kind of told me, like, man, maybe I should open up a school or whatever and teach this stuff back and teach the basic steps. So my plans are to right now is, now that I finally got Claremont established in a better place, here in Jackson, which we ended up moving next door. Now that I got that established or whatever, I'm trying to go out and probably go west and open up like, two or three more barbershops down the line, maybe like Albion, Battle Creek, you feel me, Kalamazoo, and maybe Grand Rapids. So then, So then on top of that, I want to take, take the shares or whatever, and take the experience that I've learned going through those barbershops and stuff like that, and take the money from that, and then open up a school or whatever, and so I can like, already be halfway ahead. You know what I mean? Like, and not have to be deeply in debt.
Right. I'm about to say, and then you even said it. I was gonna get to it, but it's almost been like really watching barbershop, seeing from y'all start from the shop, next door to what it is now. So what made you really just get in your bag and be like, you know what, I want to elevate it from what it looks like now to to my vision?
Okay, so yeah, like, originally it started off in the basement. With the basement cuts. And at the time, I was living with my mom, but obviously I'm not gonna live with her the rest of my life. Right. And it's all weird how it plays out, but that's got to do with like how life is set up and what God gives you and stuff like that, and that's why you have to take the opportunity. But like I was saying, I never wanted a barbershop, but then the opportunity came, so I took it. But so when I took the opportunity of taking over the barbershop, I had kind of already knew some ins and outs of running a barbershop, because basically you can somewhat say I was the manager when Jay was ahead of the shop or whatever, because I knew how to, I knew how to run everything or whatever. I knew how to do everything and stuff like that. So yeah, when I took over the shop, the original Claremont, basically, a lot of people think that Jay just gave it to me or whatever, which no, don't never work like that. So basically, I bought it off him or whatever, and with that being said, I just bought everything that came with the shop, and the customers, the business, you feel me, the logos, all the whole etc. or whatever. But to me, that was just buying somebody else's stuff. So I had in back of my head or whatever that eventually I want to upgrade or then make my own shop and put my own twist on it or whatever. Right. But my only problem with that before was finding a good stable establishment here in Jackson, because the old Claremont I was kind of in and out with it, you know what I mean? Just because personal things, like it had apartments connected to it with other people living there, and with the other apartments, because it was basically a duplex, with the storefront. So with me moving next door, it was kind of crazy how that played out too, because basically I was about to move to the west side or whatever by the mall, or I was trying to move to the mall. Then in the middle of me about getting ready to do that, I knew the neighbor or whatever at the shop or whatever. I knew he knew some ins and outs about leases and signing leases and stuff. So I had got a lease for this place that was on the west side, and I was at first I was saying to myself, because I was so ready to move, like a lot of people don't know, but basically I was trying to move to Claremont ever since I first took it over or whatever, so I was looking for buildings for years basically. So I kept saying to myself, as soon as I get this lease, I'm gonna hurry up and just sign it or whatever. But I'm glad I didn't do it. Someone told me not to just straight up sign it or whatever, and someone told me, have a couple people look it over. So I had the neighbor from the shop basically look it over, and he told me what he thought about it or whatever, and we discussed it. We basically discussed it for like a good hour or whatever. But then we got to talking about how I got into the barber game, this and that, and then he was telling me that if I was to just hold off for a little bit on signing that guy's lease, that he would have next door available for me or whatever. So I was like, well, yeah, like I had already looked at the next door before, like, and I was like, yeah, it'd be a good place for a barbershop. The only thing that's missing is parking, but you gotta weigh your options, you know what I mean? So I had him look over that lease, and he told me all that, how I could probably get this spot, and literally next thing I know, I was discussing with him business things or whatever, and he was able to help me basically improve my business and look at it in a whole different aspect type of way or whatever, all at the same time while he was letting me move in and get this new space and new space or whatever. So that's what I'm saying, like a lot of it has to do with like how life turns out, you know what I mean, and what God gives you, you know what I mean, because there was times where as a business owner, you get stressed out about a couple things or whatever, and there was nights that I prayed about this and prayed about that, and of course God answered, you know what I mean. So that's why I feel like at the same time that it's all about like how life plays out. So now, now that I've got the new place or whatever, I can really set it up and put like the twist how I want on it, and it's a good thing because people already knew about the Claremont, and it's right next door. You feel me? So it all works out basically.
Man, and then you can tell people they should know that you're serious about cutting because you got a blade tatted on your face, man.
Yeah. So basically that has to do with it too. Like I said, there's as being a business owner, there's a lot of ups and there's a lot of downs. So at the time when I had already been thinking about the blade or whatever for a long time. I had already been thinking about it for like 2 years about getting the blade. So I had took over the Claremont, and I realized like it was kind of like I got a epiphany about it that barbering changed my life. You know what I mean? That it's giving me this and giving me that. So that's when I decided to tat the razor or whatever, because it's like it's basically a part. It's part of my life. Is barbering.
And then people know you give haircuts to save people's lives.
Oh yeah.
So how you running the business now? How do you go about selecting who's on your roster in the shop?
So when it comes to selecting who's on your roster, a lot of it's got to do with just seeing if they can cut hair at first. You know what I mean? If they can cut hair, but like I've said before, not every barber is good at everything. And there's no such thing as a perfect barber. So so basically I have to weigh my options or whatever. Like maybe the person's really good at fading or whatever, but he can't line up that good. But that's something you have to take as a loss, because hey, he's good at fading, but the only way to get better at something is repetition. So eventually he'll be able to get better at lining or whatever. So yeah, a lot of it's got to do with just their haircut or whatever. I mean, yeah, and you have to know if they have like a good personality or whatever, because as I've realized, like as the years went on, there's been like a handful of people that's worked for me. Now when I sit back there and think about people that's worked for me, like I've had people that was basically doing the same thing like that I was doing, working on Saturdays only, or they would come down a few days or whatever. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to find people that'll work or whatever. That's always been another struggle too, is finding people that will come work.
Gotcha. And then with this whole pandemic going on, how that affect the business?
Oh man, with the whole pandemic going on, it really slowed up things a lot, because I had basically with the new shop, we had just moved everything over, from the old shop or whatever, and with the new shop, everything was brand new. Like when I invested into it, I was just like, at first I was thinking like maybe I should just bring this, bring old stuff over and bring this old stuff over. But then I was thinking about it like, well, this is gonna be my first time to get to actually design the shop how I really want it. You feel me? So I was just like, I might as well put it all into it or whatever. So I had been designing it for a couple months before we actually opened up or whatever. But when we opened up, we were getting real good business and a lot of a lot of new people or whatever, because and I don't even know why. Like I don't know if it's because they necessarily seen posts from the internet, if they knew it was a new shop or whatever. Because like just when my first client or whatever that I cut in the new shop or whatever for the first time, it was just this guy. Like basically, it was a guy from Albion. I was supposed to cut my homeboy, but he ended up being late. Now this guy was just from Albion College, and if I'm not mistaken, he grew up in Albion too. But I had never seen him or whatever, so I was trying to ask him. I'm like, how did you like it was weird. Like I was like, how did you know? Like, cause he came in like within the first, I want to say 30 minutes of us being open, because I changed the times too. I changed the times back or whatever, and he came in within the first 30 minutes, and I'm like, well, how did you even know we was a thing or whatever, and he was like, I don't know, I just Googled it. So then, so I'm asking him, I'm like, I'm asking him about people from Albion, and he's naming off a couple people or whatever, and he was saying that none of them never told him about this place. Yeah, and I was like, that's crazy, like how you know what I mean, like it's kind of like the world is small, you know what I mean, like out of nowhere, you just Googled it and found us, and it was the brand new shop, and you were the first person to get cut or whatever. Right. But then at the same time, he was going to the school where we be cutting people's hair or whatever that he knew, and nobody said nothing to him. So yeah, I was getting a lot of new businesses, not a lot of new faces, and I was still getting old people that's been coming through for a while. But when Corona hit, dog, it kind of just messed everything up. It just slowed, you know what I mean? It just slowed everything up. Like, but like I always tell people, and like what my mom's always told me, you gotta anytime you you have money, you get money for anything, you gotta put something to the side for a rainy day or whatever. So to me, Corona kind of affected the business or whatever. It slowed everything up. But, I had a little bit of money put away, so I was able to still pay my rents and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I was kind of liking Corona because it kind of gave me some time off or whatever because I was going so hard, from changing the shops over on top of working, cutting hair and stuff like that. Like I feel like sometimes you just get overworked or whatever. So that's another thing. Like I'm not saying Corona was the best thing that's ever happened, but it basically plays back to like everything happens for a reason, and God's gonna always show you the right way to go.
Got you. Now you even got your own gear started making. Start making your own gear and let people know you want to be more than just a barbershop and stuff like that. So it's gonna be people that's probably coming here or that you probably already inspired to even think about cutting hair. So what would be that one piece of advice you would give maybe an upcoming barber or somebody that even wants to jump in this game? What would be that one piece of advice that you would give them?
So one piece of advice that I actually just gave it to this guy that cuts hair, but I haven't had a chance to meet him. Like what it is, I seen somebody had a nice haircut, and I'm like, who cut your hair? So I gave him my number. I gave him my number to have him call me. He called me, and I was trying to give him some advice about the barber game. And I'm like, my best advice is to just go to school for it. You feel me? Like, because once you go to school for it, and it's lame or whatever to go for that long or whatever, because it's a full-time job basically. Basically, you go into a school as a full-time job, but you're not getting paid. You're cutting hair. You're basically cutting hair for free. Now you got to put in like anywhere from 1,800 to 2,000 hours before you get out of the school. So once you get out of that school and you get your certificate that you passed the school or whatever, then you go take your state test. You go take your state test, and once you pass those state tests, you get your barber license. But you don't never have to take no test again. You know what I mean? You basically you just renewing your license. So basically you gotta you would have a barber license the rest of your life. You just gotta pay the state some money or whatever. So that's kind of some of the good advice I was giving to upcoming barbers. Because a lot of them don't want to go to school or whatever for it, but it's like you might as well just get it done and over with. And then once you're all the way legit with it or whatever, then as the time goes, you get better. You're legit with it. Then you're able to charge more. Like that's what I was trying to stress to, not stress to him, but trying to tell that barber. I was like, you basically make the barber. You basically take the barber game and make it out of your own little world or whatever. Just like with the merchandise or whatever. What's funny about the merchandise, I never knew it would pop off like that. Like at first I made shirts when I first took over, and then I only had shirts for the longest, and then I don't know. I feel like one day I made some custom champion stuff, just like this one that I got on or whatever. and I think I uploaded a picture of it or something, and not even thinking about it. You know what I mean? I was just uploading it just for like a little outfit upload or whatever, just on some dumb shit. And I had a bunch of people hit me up like, yo, like, can I get that? You know what I mean? Like, what sizes you got? How much? This and that. And I'm like, damn, like, so as I'm starting to learn more, you know what I mean, and making stuff just for myself, I start to realize like people want merchandise from you too. Like, so it's kind of like I was telling that guy, you know, it's all about how you make it into your world or whatever. And like even with the merchandise, like there's people that I've never even cut their hair before, and they'll come buy merchandise off me just because they want to support, or you know what I mean, just because they might be from Jackson and want to support local businesses, all types of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I know y'all so ready to so they can open back up and y'all can get people in here, man. But I'm glad you let me pull up on you, you know, get this interview out the way.
Oh yeah.
I want to keep saying, keep going with the business, man, because I'm really a fan of what you're doing and everything, man, and I love it. So we're gonna catch up with you, man.
I appreciate you.
All righty.
Thank you.